Kristen, and today I'm going to show you how to create a little handy dandy storage box for your unbound 5.5 by 8.5 inch memory logbook using a USPS priority mail box. First of all, in case you are not familiar or you wanted to get a closer look, this version of the memory logbook, when you get it, will come shrink wrapped, and as you can see, it's unbound. It's just a whole stack of loose pages. And so when you open it up, you will have the cover and then a protective cardboard piece, and then all the pages of the logbook, including the divided monthly tabs. What we're going to do is take this and not bind it and turn it on its side and use these as file tabs in this box. So if you're like me and you like to just use a page at a time, you'll be able to use them more like note cards instead of pages. Pull them out, put them back. If you mess up, you could always, print a new one. And then they just stay loose, and then I can bind them later or whatever I decide to do with them. But anyway, in this video I'm going to show you how I made a little file box so that I can keep my pages just within easy reach in a nice little cute box that didn't really cost me anything to make because I used one of these free boxes from the post office. So follow along and I'll show you how I did it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is get yourself one of these mailing boxes from the post office. They are free usually, and this is a 12 1/16 by 2 11/16 by 13 7/16 inch size. Normally you would just take this flat box, pop it open, fold the ends down, seal it up, and have your fairly standard size mailing box. Instead of doing that, we are going to basically remodel this. We're going to cut it down a little bit so that what we end up having is this smaller little box, which we will then assemble, and then you could decorate if you like. And we have our nice little box to pop our pages in that fits nicely without being too tight to store your cards in. So right now I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. And I may need to cheat at this one a little bit so I keep track of where we're at. So one of the nice things about these boxes, as you'll notice, is the inside is plain. So not only will we be able to cut this down to size, but you wouldn't even need to decorate this if you wouldn't want to. We're also going to be doing this next step to help make it easier to cut, because it's easier to cut flat objects than three-dimensional. So the first thing you need to do to open this box out so it's nice and flat is find the side with the seam. And if you look inside here, it's real easy to tell where the people who made the box, glued it together. So we're going to separate that seam. I usually just stick my finger in here and just kind of gently run my finger along that seam. Be careful not to get a paper cut. You could also use a letter opener or other, object. And basically just loosen up that seam, open out your box. Now we have a nice flat box. And you could actually do this with any size, so I'm going to show you how I figured out where to make my cuts and folds and whatnot in case you want to do this for other projects. But basically my goal is to have as few new creases, these folds, as possible, so and to use the existing creases so I don't have unwanted folds in my new box. So to do that, I am going to first find this fold right here that has two sides, and this is the one I'm going to save, which means that essentially I will be trimming things on this side and this side to make my smaller box. This will make more sense after I show you. So we're going to save this, turn this around, and it just works out with this project that it fits these cards very well by using some little cheats. The first thing we're going to do is I am going to think for a minute and remember where we're at. I'll show you, this is our end product. So you'll see this is that main fold, that's this right here. So basically what I'm going to try to do is figure out where this fold is going to go. I want this, which is going to be the side, to be the same as this, which is going to be a side. In order to do that, I'm just going to use this as my measure. So basically that just means I can fold this down so it's out of the way, fold this down like this, and that is where my crease is going to go. Okay? See, so that way when I fold this side up, it will be exactly the same as this side. Now obviously now this, we're not going to want this big of a flap, so I'm going to get rid of the extra so that basically I have this nice little tab to glue it with, just like they had when they had their box, when they originally made the box. So I have a cutting board on my table here. You don't need these things, but it definitely makes life easier, I think. So I'm going to cut off and just make a tab that will eventually be used to attach my box together. So I'm just randomly choosing about 1 inch. I just want enough that'll give me something to glue it together. So I just drew a line right there to give me a cutting line. And I use a rotary, Fisker's rotary cutter on my cutting mat. And this is actually a quilting guide, but it works as a ruler. And I'm just going to press down kind of hard since it's cardboard, and I'm going to cut that flap off. Just like that. Okay? So now I have my little thing, my little tab here that will eventually be what I glue on to attach the box together. I'm not going to need these little doohickeys here, so I'm just going to trim those off to get them out of the way. Okay, and now I need to make this fold where I had originally folded this down. It's much easier to score cardboard, to fold cardboard if you score it first. And by scoring, it just means to take some kind of sharp object that won't cut all the way through, but that will kind of put a crease in there to make it easier. I personally like to use a paper or a letter opener, being careful not to go too far. This is a fairly sharp one. And I'm just going to do all the way from end to end because I'm going to need one of these ends creased as well. And I'm just going to carefully go along that fold line so that it's creased but not cut all the way through. Okay? Now I can easily fold on that line and it's nice and straight and doesn't do what cardboard kind of does sometimes, and that's bend all wonky. I'm going to do it both ways. So now I have 2 sides in my box, 3, or actually all of them. So now you can see I just need to figure out where to do these trimming on this side. Okay, so now we need to trim this side so it's exactly the same as this side. And the easiest way to do that is probably just to measure it. I'm going to use this. It's got measuring lines. You could just use a ruler, whatever works. And it happens to be about 9 1/4 inches from crease to crease. So on this side I'm going to mark 9 1/4 inches. Do it a couple times so I have a nice straight line. Use my yardstick to make the actual line. And this is going to be an actual trim line because we have side, front, side, back. Go ahead and cut that off with my rotary cutter. The good news is if you mess up, the boxes are free and you just start over. So now I have this. It's the right width. It'll come together right. It'll be like this. And now we just need to make it the right height. So basically you just need to pick which one's going to be the bottom of your box. I would like to have this tab thing in the back, so I'm going to place it that way. So this is the front of my box. Actually, I'm going to turn it right side out so it's the way it'll really be. So this will be folded in. That's the back. This is the bottom. This part will be folded down. One other thing I need to do, you see how the tab sticks up here? Right here where we creased it. You'll need to cut just to the first crease so that this folds also. So eventually we will be folding this like this inside, this down, it'll be like this. So I would like my cards to come exactly to the top of my box so that just the tabs stick up. So I'm going to take one of those cardboard protectors from the front of the book to help measure so I know, because it's the same size as the tabs. That is going to be my back. So I will show you here. This is one of the tab, when it stands up, these little tab dividers. I want the back to be the same height as that, and the front I'm going to make a little lower so that I can see the tabs. So I'm going to use this, which is the same size as the top of the tabs, as my back. And my back is going to be the one that does not have this little tab. Okay? So this tab, the side with no tab, is going to be my back. And I'm going to write on this printed side because that is going to be my inside of the box that won't show. That way if I decide not to decorate it, my lines won't show. So this is where I want my line to be. So I'm going to just kind of mark that right there. And then I'm going to go back with this and make a line all the way across. This is going to be my cutting line. And then in the front, I'm going to make it slightly smaller. My actual page size is 1/2 inch shorter than the tabs. So I'm going to make this line 1/2 inch shorter. And I'm just using the lines on this grid to do that, but you could also just use the actual page and mark the lines if you would like. And I'm only doing it on the side that's going to be the front. Like this. And then I would like a slightly angled line on the sides of my box. So I'm going to connect that like so. And this will be my cutting line. And then I will make another one going this way, so I need to measure where the end point would be. That was my original, this size here. So I'm just going to make a little line here so I know where that is. And then I'm going to connect this point to this point, so that when I cut it out, my sides will be angled. Got my cutting line. Now I will go ahead and trim it. This is a little trickier using the rotary cutter because I don't want to cut where I don't. It's hard to make corners, so I'm going to do a combination of this and probably a little bit of scissors. So cut that off. Okay. I guess I can do like this. Okay, I think it's going all right. Okay. Be careful not to go too far on that side. Now, actually, I have my ready to fold box, but you could have a second box if you've done this the same way I have, which would be taller, because it's just in reverse of what we just did. And if you wanted one exactly the same, you could just cut down this top edge to match. You could even just use this as a pattern. So, line them up, trace this, and you'd have two of the same box after you trim that off. So we're not wasting box. So now I have this box that I could go ahead and just assemble by whatever adhesive I would like to use. You could use double stick tape, you could use glue, whatever you are most comfortable with. And then after you glue this side, you pop these two sides down. You would pop this sticky side with the peel off stick. You would peel that off and attach it like that, and you have your nice little box that you can then slide the book in. And then I will be removing this front and just slipping it into the back for storage so that I can see my little tabs. And that's how you make that box. I actually am going to decorate this box just because it's going to be sitting in my office. And because I'm kind of picky this way and I'm going to be covering the entire box with some pattern paper, I'm actually going to turn it right back print side out so that if you can see the little side of the box a little bit, all you'll see is brown instead of the print, but it could go either way. So that will be my next step. Okay, so I am going to actually do a little measuring before I assemble my box because I find it easier to use this as a pattern so I can have exactly the size paper I would like. This box actually fits very well. These are 12 by 12 pieces of pattern paper from an older Project Live kit. I'm not sure if that's changed at all. It might be the same as what they're having now for this particular pattern. But as you can see, it's actually 12 inches from here to here and here to here. This part doesn't show, it's a little tab. So it works pretty well to just take one piece here, one piece here, covers my whole box. I'm not going to worry about the bottom because I'm not going to see the bottom. And so all I'm really going to do, this happens to have a pattern on the other side, is use this. I'm also going to match up these stripes so there's no color change. And I'm turning this over so that I'm writing on the side that will not show. And I'm just going to take this and lay it out here, just like it will be on the box. And then I'm going to trace this top here. I'm going to trace it on the line, but then I'm going to do it again right up closer to the edge because I want a little bit of paper to fold over when I cut it, when I cover the box to cover that raw edge. So this is my second line. So basically I will be cutting on the first line, which you can't really see on this paper, and the second line was just my guide for where the box was going to go. So I'm going to put it back on that first line. This is where the top of the box would fall. The cutting line is right actually here. So when I put it on my box, I will fold that part down so there's an overlap. And then on the bottom, I'm just going to fold this up so that I know where my bottom line is going to go. And I could do the same on the bottom, but I don't think I'm going to in this case. That's just an approximate line. Actually, I'm going to change my mind on the fly here. That's where the bottom of my box is. I will probably cut it a little more and overlap just because I probably will like that better. So then I will just take my cutters and be really careful because I can't really see. Actually, just for demonstration purposes and because I don't have any more of this paper and I don't want to accidentally cut it in the wrong place, I will do my line again. This is my cutting line here. This is where my fold line was, which I'm not going to do again because that doesn't need to show. This is the bottom of the box. And I will just cut slightly to the right of that so that I have some overlap. So now I'll take one piece at a time. Use my rotary cutter again. You could use a paper cutter. I'm just going to add a 1/2 inch to the bottom here. Voila! little part right here. Oh, oops. Okay. And about a 1/2 inch on this one to the bottom. So I finished trimming my pieces, and as you can see, this is my box, and they will go together like so. Actually, this to cover it up. I'm going to adhere it first, and then I'm going to assemble the box. You could use all kinds of adhesives. My favorite is my Xyron, which is actually out of adhesive at the moment, so I'm going to use Aleene's tacky glue because it's pretty easy to work with. And in this case, I'm going to put the glue right on the box, and I'm only going to put it on this front panel area for now. So I'll put the glue on there. This is fairly heavy cardstock that I'm working with for the covers, so I don't have to be quite as careful as if it were something thinner where these glue lines would show. I'm also doing stripes, which is kind of busy, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Spread it out. Make sure it's going to stick, but not too heavy. And then I'll go ahead and line my papers up, remembering that I have a little overlap on these, so it's about equal top to bottom. Down there. There is going to be a little bit of color showing on my box, especially once I fold this, which is part of the reason I chose this striped paper, because it's not going to bother me too much that this little bit of red is going to peek through on that corner, particularly since there's red in here. You might keep that in mind as you're choosing paper. You could even make the box a hair smaller to make sure that 12 by 12 fits. Flip this over. This is my overlap here. To help it go a little better, I'm going to clip right here where this crease is going to be so that I can overlap that a little bit. Same with right here where this crease is, so that when I fold it, it doesn't cover up. And I'll use some more of this glue. Maybe. Over and hold it for a minute till it stays nice and smooth and tight. This is really thick cardstock, so it's going to take a minute for it to hold. Not too long though. This is why I like my Xyron, because if I ran it through my laminator or the adhesive thing, it is really sticky and there would be no waiting for the glue to dry that I'm doing right here. But this will work. I live in rural Montana and I can't just run to the store when I run out of something, so you get used to working with what you have. And whining. Let that get good and dry. And then the bottom I will wait and do after I've assembled the box. So I'm going to wait just a titch longer to make sure that's adhered. And then I will use this same glue to attach this seam right here, which I can do right now. Put the glue on this side because it's the side that will need to be attached. So I'll do that right here. And this one I definitely want to hold, so I'm using a little more glue. Flip it around. Attach that like so. Actually will clip this, I think, so that it can stay put while it dries. Find your clips. Like and the bottom will just have to hold, so that will dry like so. See how cute that's going to be? And I can go ahead while that's drying and finish the box as long as I just keep hold of this. So I'm going to put the inside flaps in first, and then in this case, because I want this to hold down like this, the sticky thing, if I had reversed it, you have to be careful to make sure the sticky part is on, whether you want it on the top or the bottom, so it works. Pull it off. So, you can see I have my overlapping paper. I'm going to trim a little notch or a little cut into these two corners that are solid so that I can overlap. And then I'm going to just glue those down, just like I did on the other side. I need about 3 more hands here, because my glue is about gone. And if I really wanted to get fancy, I could make another piece to cover up these flaps. But I think I'd rather save my paper scraps and use it in my actual scrapbooking, so I don't think I'm going to do that in this case. This is a case again of the tacky glue not wanting to stick right away. Just takes a minute. We'll use some help from the table. And I'll just wait a little bit. And when that's all dry, you'll see that I can pop my cards in there, and I could even add, you know, something more to the box. I tend to be more, some of the details I find distracting sometimes because my office is a little busy as it is, so I probably won't be adding anything, but you could add a cute title or other embellishments or however you would like to dress it up. Oops. I may even add a piece of tape down here just to make sure that sticks. But anyway, you get the idea. I'll take that. I am going to take the first section, pop it in the back, pop in my book, and there we go. Now I can just grab out a page when I want to use it, write on it, put it back. I could even slide in some other things if I want to. There's enough room there to do that. And that's your box.